The partial and unofficial results of the 2025 Senate race showed a varied group of leading candidates. As you can see on your screen, Bongo from the so-called Duterte still enjoys a commanding lead. His party mates also poised to enter the Magic 12 are Bato de la Rosa at 3rd spot and Rodante Marcoleta at 6th. Camille Villar at 10th and Amy Marcos at 12, although initially part of Alianza, were adopted as guest candidates by the Dutertes. Now, 5 senatorial bets under Alianza, excluding Villar and Marcos, appear to have safe spots in the Magic 12. These are Erwin Tulfo at 4th, Ping Lacson at 7th, Tito Soto at 8th, Pia Cayetano at 9th, and Lito Lapid at the 11th spot. Now, surprising a lot of analysts and voters alike were traditional opposition Bam Aquino at 2nd spot, as well as Kiko Pangilinan at 5th spot. And to help us make sense of the partial results of the 2025 Senate race, we have political strategist Alan Herman back on the show. Welcome back to Morning Matters. You know, Alan, nag-usap tayo at the start of the campaign season. We talked about it midway, and now after the polls, I guess, were you surprised? I mean, I'm sure this question has been asked of you several times, no? But the surveys did not really align with the results. Did your predictions align?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised, if I'm being honest. Perhaps not so much the composition, but more so by the rankings. I did not expect, I fully expected Senator-elect Bam Aquino to make it. But I was not anticipating that he would make it in the top 3. I mean, finishing at number 2, evidently. That was a bit of a shock to me. And I had some very, very nice moments thinking that perhaps the electorate is maybe being more discerning in choosing their candidates and choosing their winners, and perhaps being more circumspect about their votes, talking about just putting it in the context of celebrity candidates who did not crack the Magic 12.
Hey, do you think this was a protest vote? I mean, the showing of Kiko Pangilinan, Bam Aquino, Rodante Marcoleta.
1,000,000% a protest vote, in my opinion. This is a clear indication of, again, midterm elections are a referendum on the current administration. This is really I mean, it's a line that gets repeated very often only because it's very true and accurate. So, nasa midterms, tinitignan ng tao, sino ba yung sinusuportahan ng presidente, ng pangulo, ng administrasyon. Kung gusto natin yung patakbo, ituloy. Continuity ang play. Pero kung hindi natin gusto, hindi tayo masaya, hindi tayo satisfied sa patakbo ng administrasyon, then we will choose candidates that will hopefully veer away and steer us to the direction that we want. Mukhang ganun na nangyari. Na-overlook kasi ng tao, the data that gets overlooked a lot is that President Marcos had the lowest approval rating coming into this midterm election compared to the past compared to the past 3 presidents before him. So that's for me, that's the data point that proved to be the most telling in this election, more than the surveys.
Where do you think the administration went wrong with their campaign? Why wasn't the president able to carry his bets?
I think what happened there is a lack of strategic focus in terms of addressing people's wants and needs. I think they focused, or at least the perception of it. Perhaps that's unfair of me to say, but I think the perception of most people is that they were more focused on politicking, on crushing their political rivals, extending and pursuing all methods para madurog yung mga Duterte, rather than addressing the actual gut needs of the people. So sabi ko nga, Gretchen, pag marunong kang tumingin ng patterns, pag ikaw ay isang mapanuring botante, political pundit, analyst, kung ano man ang tawagin natin dyan, napakadali niyan napakadali makita yung writing on the wall. So, tignan na lang natin yung top 5 senators kung sinong nanalo, di ba? Ano bang advokasya ni Senator Bongo na number 1? Healthcare.
Health.
So, mukhang yan ang hinahanap ng tao. Ano bang advokasya ni Senator Bam? Senator-elect Bam sa number 2. Education at trabaho, di ba? Sigurado ang trabaho. Sa libreng kolehiyo, sigurado ang trabaho. Education and livelihood pala ang advokasya ni Senator Bam. Mukhang yan ang hinahanap. Si Senator Bato de la Rosa, peace and order. So the people apparently don't feel safe. They feel a need for restoring of peace and order in the country. Si Senator-elect Erwin Tulfo, ano yan? Social services yan. When the institutions don't work, tumatakbo ang tao sa Tulfo. Kasi feeling nila yung social services hindi sapat, hindi nabibigay ng tama ng gobyerno. Kaya nila hinalal si Senator-elect Erwin Tulfo. At si Senator-elect Kiko Pangilinan, pagkain, murang pagkain. Kasi nga, nagtataasan ang presyo ng bilihin, lalo ang pagkain para sa tao. Mukhang yan ang hinahanap nila. So if you were a data analyst, if you were a political analyst or strategist, you would see that the writing is very clear on the wall. Yan ang hinahanap ng tao. Diyan dapat tumutok ang administrasyon. Imbis na just really doubling down and making the line, the divide, more pronounced between what is a Marcos and what is a Duterte. So feeling ko dyan nagkulang at kaya nagkaganito ang resulta ng eleksyon. First time kasi usually Gretchen, equity of the incumbent will have 8 to 10 administration candidates winning. Pero the last time ito nangyari, lo and behold, was during the time of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, yung ill-fated team unity niya na dalawa lang ang nanalo. Ang approval rating ni TGMA nun was even higher than President BBM going into the midterms. Nasa 30% si PGMA nun.
Kahit sa anong laban, alam naman natin, may kanya-kanyang team yan. So it is obvious na solid yung mga Duterte in their base in Mindanao and in the South. But where is the solid North? Why are they not rising up to defend their leader?
Tandaan natin, if I'm not mistaken, number 1 yata si Bam sa Ilocos. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, I'll check the data. Pero kahit si Senator Bam mataas sa Ilocos. So, ang nangyari kasi dyan, defending. What happened there is, because of this warring factions, let's call it that, kaya naging ganyan ang resulta ni Senator-elect Bam at ni Senator-elect Kiko. Kasi yung mga galit sa Duterte na pro-Marcos, binoto sila dahil feeling nila galit sila sa mga Duterte. Yung mga pro-Duterte naman, binoto sila dahil feeling nila galit sila sa pro-Marcos. So, galit si Senator Bam at si... So yeah, it really it was really, they benefited from the feud. I don't know if I made that point clearly, no. I was
wondering why they did not show up for President Marcos in the way that the Duterte supporters showed up for the slate of Duterte.
Okay, well, to that point, because they didn't feel persecuted, I suppose. Definitely not as persecuted as the Duterte camp. Kasi nga, feeling ng Duterte camp, masyado na kami inaapi dito. Una, inimpeach niyo yung Vice Presidente. Tapos yung aming spiritual moral leader na si former President Rodrigo Duterte, dinala ninyo sa Hague. So yun na nga, nagkaroon ng, and we spoke about this before, there was that consolidation, that suction effect that happened wherein they really rallied behind and made a determined push. Kasi kung titignan mo yung alyansa candidates, Gretchen, and I'll put air quotes on alyansa. Kaya lang naman sila alyansa is because yun yung party nila. They were named as administration candidates. Pero kung titignan mo yung mga kandidato na yan, they're really fully formed, fully developed, independent politicians. Tito Soto, di ba, dating kay GMA yan, di ba, you're talking about Pia Cayetano, Cayetano yan. She's a fully formed, fully independent politician and public servant na hindi naman necessarily strongly aligned with Marcos. Unlike the PDP candidates, the pro-Duterte candidates, isang tingin mo lang, alam mo na talagang ang kanilang leaning ay Duterte.
Do you think it wouldn't have happened this way had the president or the administration not have allowed the arrest of the former president? Would this turn out differently?
Well, I've always been of the opinion, and I've said it in the past, no, that I think they did it too late. If the intention was to bring the former president to The Hague to account for his crimes, I think they should have done it tactically much earlier than they did, to allow the suction effect or tightening, the consolidation, to dissipate. Kasi magdi-dissipate din naman yan out of sight, out of mind. Hindi na natin alam kung ano nangyayari sa The Hague. Hindi na natin alam, hindi na masyadong kino-cover ng media. Magkakaroon din naman ng smoothening. Pero I think they did it too late. Na nasagap pa rin. There was still, the supporters were still very much enlivened, impassioned. They were very much feeling like underdogs who needed to really bite and claw back. And we see the results now.
Do you think there was a youth vote? May mga nagsasabi na, okay, it's the millennials and the Gen Z who comprise 63% of the voting population in 2025 that made the difference here. But if you take a look at 2022, nasa 56% naman yung numero, no? Malaki-laki pa rin. Tingin mo, what do you think of the youth vote?
I definitely, absolutely believe in the youth vote. Pero ang sweet spot talaga dyan, not so much yung Gen Z. Yung millennials actually yung sweet spot dyan. Kasi 25.94 ang millennials. Yun yung 1981 to 1996. Just in case there was a confusion. So,
kasama ka ba doon?
Yun nga, sasabihin ko nga. So, yun yung generation ko, no? Yung mga katropa ko. Shout out to my fellow millennials. Okay, nawalan ako ng lahat ng credibility. But do I believe in the youth vote? Absolutely. But more of the youth vote, perhaps it would be reductive or siguro oversimplistic to just attribute it to their age. I think, and in my heart of hearts, I feel and I'm happy that it is really a changing tide in terms of sentiment and discernment. Naks. Yung tinatawag kong, yung na-mention ko parati dito na OAP, yung Order of Attribute Preferences, mukhang nagbabago. Yes, they are starting it. Yes, it's starting with the Gen Zs and the millennials, but it looks like it's spreading out in all generations. That they're thinking, this is a job application. Why are we voting for candidates simply because they're celebrities? What do these people have to show?
Or may pa-jacket, no?
Pa-jacket lang, ganyan. Favorite mo, Gretchen, di ba? Ako hindi. Ako hindi kita tatabihan dahil baka magkaroon ng batuhan ng jacket, baka tamaan ako . Alam mo, yung mga nagpa-viral dito na nang totosta ng kandidato.
No. Talk to me about the role of TikTok in these elections. Gano'n na ba game-changing? I mean, we saw that in 2022 with the campaign of President Marcos, and they were prepared. Their machinery was prepared for a social media campaign. And this time around, we saw even the progressives taking on TikTok, even Bam Aquino, even Kiko Pangilinan, Heidi Mendoza. They're all active online. Is the game there on TikTok?
TikTok, yes. Still more Facebook. We're still Facebook country. But you're correct, TikTok is closely behind. YouTube is the third. Yung X, kalimutan na natin. Wala yan. Sa kandidato, wala namang value, voter value yung X. But yes, this is really it began in 2016 actually with PRRD, with President Duterte, and has evolved geometrically to where we are now. Kasi iba talaga yung plataforma ng digital. Kasi yan, in fact, they're calling this a digital revolution. A lot of people are calling this a digital revolution in terms of elections. Kasi ang social media, two-way ang interaction. There's engagement. Pwede kang makipag-usap sa like-minded people. It's live casting. Nakikita mo yung kandidato. So na-enhance yung kanyang care attributes, yung relatability. di ba? Most specifically, the relatability. You see the candidates in everyday situations, playing with their dogs, dancing, talking to their families, doing food reviews, talking about what they're eating and where they're going, kasama ka. So game changer yan. Hindi yan dati magawa ng traditional media like TV, radio, and print. Kasi one way ang cascade ng impormasyon.
But as
At
to
sobrang
the
mahal.
impact, mas malaki na sa social media, would you say?
Well, the footprint, okay, I will qualify that. No? I'll qualify that question. In terms of footprint, nothing will beat social media. If you're just talking about pure eyeballs, bang for buck, social media talaga. Pag in-out mo yan ng isang oras, that has a chance to reach millions of eyeballs in 1 hour. So the spread. Conversion, on the other hand, mas mataas pa rin ang traditional media. So, mas mako-convert ang tao pag nakita nila yung kandidato na interview ni Gretchen Ho, nagalingan sila.
Pero nag-viral sa social media yon. So,
baliktad din nangyari. And we're talking about the same thing. Hindi sila nagalingan. So, siguro nagka-epekto yon, di ba? Na-turn off sila. So, ang conversion ng ATL above the line, mas mataas kasi sa social media.
Now, moving on to 2028, do you think that celebrity power is now proven to not be enough to win an election? And as a strategist, what are your learnings about how the Philippine voting population is evolving to be?
That's a great question. Well, unang-una, lilinawin ko lang, nung nagkakatostahan nung time na yon, the event that Gretchen and I are talking about, nandun ako sa studio nung nangyayari yon. So nararamdaman ko yung init, grabe. Para naging rosy yung mga cheeks ko, no, dahil sa sobrang heat na ine-emanate ni Gretchen nung time na yon sa isang kandidato. But to the question, yes, celebrities, the elections of this midterm elections have shown, di ba? Numbers to narrative naman tayo eh. Titignan natin yung numbers and then we shape the narrative. Yan dapat ang strategy. At malinaw, dito sa nangyari sa midterm elections, yung pure celebrity power, yung dahil lang sikat ka, ATC, awareness to choice. Awareness is not enough necessarily to translate to that choice. Dahil lang celebrity ka, magaling kang sumayaw ka sa TikTok, you have a really catchy jingle, and I don't know if you're catching who I'm talking about, na talagang earworm yung jingle mo. It's not enough. Apparently now, yung order of attribute preference na nasabi ko nga, kailangan may konting substance. Kailangan you're hitting or addressing, your messaging has to be addressing these gut issues na nagre-revolve sa health, yung health, education, livelihood, peace and order, social services. And as a strategist, I would then be more focused, and perhaps others in my profession would be more focused, not so much in creating a huge, eye-catching, awe-inspiring box, but focusing on filling the box with substance.
Well, Alan, is it safe to say that there is a resurgence of the liberals? And do you think it would be enough to create a strong bid for 2028? Or will the impeachment trial play a huge role in this in the next 3 years?
Definitely, I would say that there is a resurgence. Tinatawag ng pink power, yung kanilang term na pink power. I think it is, yun na nga hindi siya alive and kicking eh. Mas delikado eh. Kasi yung alive and kicking, sumisipa, nag-iingay, kaya napapansin. Ito, alive and clicking. It seems to be clicking. Their message seems to be clicking to the people. So that for me is a more sustainable resurgence.
Anong pinagbago para sa'yo?
Definitely, yung mensahe nila, hindi na siya inspire messaging, hindi na siya tapat, integrity, let me educate you, let me show you how it should be done. Yung kandidato siguro hindi nagbago, siguro yung supporters na nagbago, Gretchen. Kasi nakita natin na si Senator-elect Bang, nag-focus siya talaga sa edukasyon. They were trying to politicize him. They were setting traps for him. They were saying, ano sa tingin mo sa impeachment? Ano sa tingin mo dito sa bangayan between Marcos and Duterte? At yung sagot niya, which was vilified at that time by the so-called purists, dami nagalit kay Bam noon. You should have taken a stand, blah, blah, blah. Ano bang sagot ni Senator Bam noong time na yun? Uy, yung tanong na politika na yan, hindi yan mahalaga ngayon. Ang mahalaga yung inflation, ang mahalaga yung presyo ng bilihin, ang mahalaga yung basic services, tubig, kuryente. Diyan ako nagpo-focus, edukasyon lalo, at pagbibigay ng trabaho. And he got vilified by the purists. So anong pinagkaiba, Gretchen? Circling back to your question, they realized that this purist mindset just doesn't win elections. I mean, at the end of the day, you can look in the mirror and maybe applaud yourself and maybe be all high and mighty, di ba? And pat yourself on the back saying, yes, I am the purest thing to happen in the Philippines. Pero hindi ka mananalo ng eleksyon pag ganyan ang mindset mo. Elections is really going to where the market is rather than bringing the market up to where you think they should be. Yung let me educate you na yan, yung elitista approach na yan will not win you an election. And I think Senator-elect Bam and Senator-elect Kiko really learned the lessons of the past election, in particular that last one election na talagang high and mighty ivory tower yung pag-iikot at pangangampanya. I think natuto sila and you know, they said, let's bring this campaign back to what should be what we should be talking about, which is addressing the needs of the people through a legislative agenda. So mukhang nag-resonate. Pero
Well,
syempre,
Alan,
nakatulong yung mga dissatisfaction with the current admin. Hindi naman tayo, ibabash ako sa comments, sasabihin, I'm being so myopic. Hindi sinasabi mo, nanalo sila on their own merit, di nakatulong yung protest vote. Nakatulong, syempre.
Hindi yung mga pagsasayaw sa TikTok. Kasi parang lahat ng liberal candidates makikita mo sumayaw sa TikTok.
Sumayaw sa TikTok, pero yun na nga, merong substance. Ano siya, hindi lang siya lobo. Hindi lang siya kasi if sumasayaw ka sa TikTok, dahil mong patawan, dahil mong pa-cute, yung tinatawag nating Dean campaigning, delight, entertain, amuse, make noise. Lobo ka lang. There's nothing inside. Pag tinusok mo yan, puputok, walang laman. Ito, you're a red lunchbox. You're still eye-catching, you're still attractive, you're still engaging. Pero pag binuksan mo, meron namang laman.
Wait, Alan, if you take a look at the numbers of BAM and his map doon sa sa mga botong natanggap niya, there was a lot of conversion in the north. Kanina minention mo yung Solid North voted for BAM.
Number 6 pala siya. Sa Ilocos,
which he was unable to do in the past. Do you think he tapped into the Aquino machinery also? Meron bang ganun pa rin sa ngayon? At pangalawa, ano yung mga I mean, what did you notice in the way they were strategizing? Because both BAM and Kiko did say that the last-minute endorsements of several religious groups and also yung MILF, MNLF proved to be working for
crucial.
them. Oo.
Well, again, I think Senator-elect Bam and Senator-elect Kiko's campaign and success in this election is proof positive that elections are really about addition. Ang dali magsabi ng unity, magkaisa tayo. Ang ginawa ni Senator Bam at ni Senator Kiko, talagang sinabuhay nila. Umiikot sila, they forged alliances. Napakaganda at napakasimple at napakalinis naman ang kanilang mensahe. Ako, edukasyon at trabaho, si Senator Kiko, si Bam yon, si Senator Kiko is pagkain, murang pagkain, sustainable food supply, food security. Who will not resonate with that message? So they were able to forge a lot of alliances, which proved very, very useful.
Well, we don't like a game if it's not as dynamic as this. So definitely a lot to take away and bring to the 2028 elections. I'm sure you're taking note. Maraming salamat for weighing in on with us. We have political strategist Alan Herman right here on Morning Matters.